How's it going, folks? Recording another best ball video here. And this is going to be our first companion video that's actually going to have an article that goes with it. And my first article that I'm going to have up on the site is going to be the 2020 Best Ball Primer article. Now, this article will be a little basic for anybody that's already a best ball aficionado, but it's really going to be, kind of for new people coming in to teach them what best ball is about and all that good stuff, how to play. Looking like we've got pick number 5 here in this draft. This is another one in the 50K guaranteed prize pool tournament. So I will be drafting a New Orleans Saint almost for sure here in round 1. And after I make my first pick, we'll take a little look at the article. It's not actually up on the site just yet, but by the time you watch this video, it will be. And I'll have a link to the article in the description for this video. But we're actually going to look at the article in my Google Doc during this video, since I'm having to make the video before the article is actually posted. Trying to work out some details on what the best way to get the articles up on there is. So I'm guessing we end up with Michael Thomas here. Nice. I prefer Alvin Kamara to Michael Thomas, but I would have taken whichever Saint fell there. Pretty excited to get Kamara. Actually, I picked 5 in my very last draft of these, and I took Kamara on that one. Ended up with a really, really strong team that started off Kamara, Aaron Jones, and Lamar Jackson. So let's look at the best ball primer in my Google Doc. This is going to be the 2020 edition. I used my same background as we had for the primer last year. I'm going to kind of keep that going as like my flagship first article. Little Optimus Prime football guy going there. So in the primer, we're going to talk about roster construction. And the main purpose of the article is like what's different about best ball than season long for those people that are not that initiated into best ball. Like, what do we need to know if we're a season long person to jump into best ball? It's pretty much all the primer is. It points out that we're playing on Drafters, which is the app that I use. Breaks down the basic roster construction that I go by with 3 QBs, 6 running backs, 8 wide receivers, 3 tight ends. And there's going to be a more detailed second article coming out called the Roster Construction Deep Dive. That'll be my second one. And that's going to explain to you why I'm using that roster construction. I don't want to get into all of that in just this kind of initial welcome to best ball article. So it explains why bye weeks and injuries actually matter here, whereas they don't matter too much in your season long, especially bye weeks. I don't even pay attention in season long. Don't care. Figure it out as we go, because I'm going to trade people. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get COVID. Shit's going to happen. So I don't really worry about bye weeks at all when I'm drafting a season long team. But in best ball, you absolutely need to worry about it. And then it also introduces the idea of stacking. And if you've watched my videos, you know what that's all about. So that's a DFS technique used to help your win percentage in big tournaments. And, these best ball drafts basically are a series of DFS tournaments where you have one set lineup for all 16 of the tournaments. So, as many weeks in a row as you can come in first, the better. We saw Kenyon Drake go at number 8 in this one, Tyreek at number 7. Kenyon Drake hype is psychotic at this point. I like Kenyon Drake. Probably not ever picking him before pick 10. And even then, it's kind of stretching it to get my ownership percentage up a bit. But I prefer to only take Drake at the turn. Any sooner than that for me is too rich. When you consider he had that 4 touchdown massacre game, and that was half of his touchdowns for the year. I realize he wasn't starting on Miami, so, but still, in the time he was with the Cardinals. That was half of his touchdowns. If they want Kyler Murray to really take a step forward, they're going to have to not rely on the run game as much as they did at the end of last season, because Kyler Murray absolutely reeked the last 6 weeks last year. So, first couple of weeks that Drake was there, Kyler Murray still performed very well. And then after those 2 weeks, from the rest of the point on, he threw for 194 yards a game, which is abysmal. 8 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in those other 6 games. So once they really, really pushed to move more towards a Kenyon Drake centric offense, Kyler Murray was quite bad for fantasy. So I don't think that they're going to want to. I don't think they got DeAndre Hopkins so that they could run that same offense they were running the last half of last year. That's not to say I think Drake's going to be bad. He's still definitely, he's an RB1 for me in my rankings. I still like him a lot. I'm just not in on this pick 7 or 8 Kenyon Drake. That's too much. So let's see what we got going on for picks. We've got 2 more before us. Both the tight ends just went off the board. They've been very difficult to get. Here's Hopkins. So I guess I'm probably taking, I was going to say Chubb or Eckler. Eckler, not a guy I'm a massive fan of, but I do want some ownership percentage. I mean, he had just absolutely incredible year last year, even with sharing part of the season with Melvin Gordon. I do think that the receptions will go down a bit because Tyrod is there. I think he's going to lose a decent amount of targets, but I think he'll gain a bit more in rushing, and also he's not going to lose, he's probably still going to play slot wide receiver a decent amount too. So he's not going to lose any of those catches by Tyrod being there. They really don't have a solid third wide receiver. I think they've got Patton and that Hill guy that they drafted. So I think Eckler will see quite a bit of time in the slot wide receiver role there. So yeah, that's our primer article there. I do point out that you want to have up to 2 pass catchers, but you don't really want to push it to 3 because we saw a negative win percentage once it pushed past 2. So having 1 stack option that goes with your quarterback raised you a little bit. Having 2 raised you some more. Having 3 then negated all that and put you into the negatives. So try to get 2 pass catchers for your quarterbacks. Can't always do it. You can't start making horrible picks just to have stack options, right? Last year, I was picking DJ Chark a bunch in the 18th round. Just think if there's somebody you like considerably better that you think is way better as far as your value-based drafting goes, make sure you're taking that guy and not just taking a stack piece to take a stack piece. It's think if you were taking, just some bum wide receiver in round 18 over a DJ Chark. So it's really you got to figure out your values and stick to value-based drafting as the most important piece. That's how you're going to beat people. That's how you have a better team than them. This stacking and bye weeks and these kind of things, that helps you beat the rake, right? But it doesn't help you beat the other players. The value-based drafting is the core of what you need to beat other players. You have to be better at picking players than them. So we want to add in the percentages using the stacking and the bye weeks and that kind of stuff, but not to the detriment of losing out on value. So you want to have your tiers going. You want to be pretty comfortable with your picks that way. And if there's somebody that you are kind of all in on, I'm a little more open this year to not worrying about ownership percentage as much. I mean, you can really get hosed with injuries and things like that, but you're also limiting your upside when you have a lower ownership percentage. So I keep it in mind. If I have none of somebody, I'm starting to think about it and things like that. But I try not to make it be the most important thing going for me. So the last one of these drafts where I picked at pick 5, I got to start Kamara, Aaron Jones, and Lamar. See how we do here. There's kind of 4 players I'm very interested in on the board. Those would be Mahomes, Allen Robinson, Clyde, and Odell. I think I'm least likely to take Odell. I really like having Clyde as like a third wide receiver. As a third running back, where you don't have to worry about if he has like kind of a slower start to the season as much. That guy timed out for quite a while before it made him pick. I think I'm going to take Clyde or Mahomes with a slight consideration to Allen Robinson. We generally have been able to get Allen Robinson shares a bit later in drafts, and like Mahomes is somebody I've really had a tough time getting any ownership on. And Clyde, I really, really like it when you can get him as your third running back in round 3. So I don't want to pass up on that too much. So to me, it's between Mahomes and Clyde. I am going to pass on Allen Robinson here, just because I found him a little easier to get than the other two, especially since I don't love having Clyde as my second running back. So, like in these specific situations where you're getting him as your third in round 3, it's really nice. So now do we want to go Clyde or Mahomes? Definitely going to go Mahomes here. Once you get, pretty deep into round 3, I like Mahomes and Lamar quite a bit. So, thing to put in the back of our mind, but not to get too wild about, is this incredibly hard to stack Mahomes, obviously, as Tyreek and Kelsey go off before Mahomes does. So, I wonder if this guy is the guy who had these guys were the guy. One of these guys had Kelsey. That's pretty early for Zach Ertz. I actually think he's worth a pick there, but I just wouldn't pick him there because I've been getting a ton of ownership later, so no reason to take him that high for me because I'm getting ownership later. But if you're only doing, like one draft, I don't think it's crazy to take Zach Ertz that high. So getting back to what we were going to put in the back of our mind there was to try and grab McCole Hardman if we can, or Sammy Watkins. They're like the only stackable pieces that go later than Mahomes that you can get for him. Once we get past round about 10 or 11, I'll start looking at the other teams and seeing what we got going on there. Pretty open to pick whatever we want. Having running back, quarterback. If we had went with Clyde over Mahomes, then we'd probably been forced to pass on any really good value that came down our way in round 4 for running back. Now we could definitely go running back, wide receiver, anything. The whole everything is an option. So this Drafters 50K contest, pretty nice. I've been seeing quite a few people tweeting and talking about it in the industry, in the fantasy industry. So it's nice to see best ball kind of picking up again, as it took a bit of a blow after losing draft and the uncertainty with that. Most of these other places like Yahoo's, best ball sites and stuff, I don't really like because I don't want to be drafting like defenses and kickers and crap like that. So for me, Drafters is the best one out there. If I had a suggestion to make, it would be that the layout is kind of like a little old looking. Draft definitely had like a newer kind of edgier look to it, which I preferred. Really good value getting Clyde at pick 36 there for Toasty Beer. All the way as the last pick of round 3. People are starting to get a little bit too scared of the rookie running backs. I think that we actually have come back too far the other direction now. Like the fact that there's not going to be 2 preseason games really isn't as big a deal as people want to make it out to be. And my gosh, that guy's team is ridiculous to start. It's got Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Clyde, and A.J. Brown. Whew. Wish I was picking up the 12 this draft. Calvin Ridley going around pick 40 is where he usually seems to be going. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then us. Chris Carson and James Conner definitely stick out to me as my favorite two running backs of this group. I do like Mark Ingram as well. As far as wide receivers go, I like Chark and the two Rams, Woods and Kupp. I like Keenan Allen a little less than those guys. This could be a spot for us to pick Jonathan Taylor and have him, be our third running back that can absolutely explode and win us this huge contest. And, he's a rookie running back that we don't necessarily have to rely on immediately, being that we have Kamara and Eckler. And, I'm sure we'll pick up some later pieces, but I really like, better having Clyde be the third. And I haven't really been able to do that with Jonathan Taylor, where I have him be the third. So let's see if that's an option. That wasn't Jonathan Taylor. Who am I likely to pick here if Taylor goes? Mark Andrews will definitely be on my radar, as he's a guy I wasn't drafting at first because I wanted to make sure he was going to play this year because of his diabetes, and he said that he is going to play, so I'm no longer concerned about that. I mean, obviously there's still a chance that something changes his mind and he opts out, but if somebody comes out and says that they're planning to play, then that's enough for me to not worry about it and start taking them. The other guys I'm still a little iffy on are Tevin Coleman and John Brown with their sickle cell, but I'm a little bit more open to getting a bit of them in there. All right, I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor here just because I really haven't ever gotten the chance to pick him this late in round 4, and I really think he has that explode win you the league upside. And it's really nice to be able to get him as my third running back and not as a second. So we have a team that looks a lot like, that team at the turn that I loved. So he had A.J. Brown and 3 great running backs, including a rookie running back that can bust out. So he had Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, and Clyde, and A.J. Brown instead of Patrick Mahomes. So I think our team might even be a little stronger than his. Really liking the way this one has started off for us. Convenient that none of our 3 starting running backs have the same bye week, but that's not an overly concerning thing. Not something I was super worried about there. Gonna probably be able to get a pretty decent wide receiver on the way back as our wide receiver 1. It might have to be a DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett, depending on who these guys take, but Kyler Murray, that's too high for me. I don't like to see another quarterback go until around, 5, 6. I like Dak in 5, and then the rest of our QB tier 2 in round 6. Mark Andrews, very good pick for the Fantasy Football Oracle. That's who I was probably going to take if I didn't take Jonathan Taylor. Definitely think Mark Ingram is by far the best running back value on the board at this point. I like him a lot more than I like David Montgomery. David Montgomery's ceiling is just so poop. Kind of strange to see quarterbacks going this early. I don't get it. So it looks like for wide receivers, we're going to be looking at the Seattle guys, Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton as options. I'm not taking Darren Waller as high as he's gone up there now. We're really kind of hoping I don't end up having to take Terry McLaurin as my wide receiver 1 here. All right, that assured us that that's not going to happen. So we're either going to take DK Metcalf or Keenan Allen. I'll kind of decide once this pick is made. I have a slight lean towards Metcalf at the moment, but I'd like to log on to my site and see what my rankings are for them. So this is bestballin.com, where we're going to have our articles, videos, and rankings available. And at wide receiver, I have Keenan Allen 21, DK Metcalf 19. So they're right close. That was DK Metcalf off the board. So I think that we're going to have to take Keenan Allen. It's either him or Terry McLaurin. Yeah, I'm going to take Keenan Allen. I'm just not comfortable taking Terry as my number one. Haskins, too scary for me. So that didn't really work out disastrous, but it wasn't great for us either. Next pick was Terry McLaurin. It's nice to see Mark Ingram go ahead of us. It would have been kind of annoying to have to pass that value on down the line. Darren Waller was a guy I was getting a lot of ownership on and absolutely loving, but now that he's crept up the ADP, I think you will see us not getting very much of him from the next while. So the only one really out there that I kind of wanted to get to go with Mahomes would be a McCole Hardman, but that's going to be quite a few rounds from now. One thing I noticed, when I was finally doing my rankings, was that some tight ends were getting overlooked. So I think I'll be taking more round 20 tight ends now that I've noticed some guys were not getting picked at all, like Fells in Houston and Jimmy Graham in Chicago. Not that these people excite me whatsoever, but I think that they're better round 20 picks as tight ends. Tyler Eifert as well in Jacksonville. Because even O'Shaughnessy, when he was in Jacksonville last year, had some pretty decent weeks while he was the guy before he got hurt. The guy they were using. I wouldn't really say the guy, but the guy they were using at tight end. So to me, it looks like I would rather have some of those tight ends in round 20 than any of the wide receivers you can get in round 20. But, we'll be keeping our mind open to value-based drafting and not sticking to only one thing. But I think that's something we need to keep in mind, that there were players there available that were that we had kind of forgotten about and had been looked over, mostly because I hadn't seen Jimmy Graham drafted in even one of these drafts. And there was one draft where I was desperate for a tight end at the end, and I ended up just taking a shot on Drew Sample. And I would much prefer that shot have been just a Jimmy Graham, nice, safe, 4 or 5 touchdown tight end. Kareem Hunt, good pick at number 60. He was kind of on my radar for when it got back to me. I say we're not taking Darren Waller, but if he's still there when I pick again, I might be taking Darren Waller. I just assumed he would be taken at this point. Kind of interesting, Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson are still on the board. I don't think with having Patrick Mahomes I would take one of those two. I don't really like that double up on elite quarterback strategy too much. 3 more picks until us. Players of interest for me: Waller, Singletary, T.Y. Hilton, Cam Akers. I'm probably not taking as a second rookie running back. There's good old Jarvis Landry, who I have a bunch of. I like Marvin Jones, Brandon Cooks a good bit. There's quite a few guys I'm comfortable with as a second wide receiver that will probably make it back to us. So I think I'd prefer not to take Waller here if I can. Just because I like Hunter Henry and a bunch of other tight ends. I have not a single share of Evan Ingram, which I think I need to get some of. Nice. Waller went ahead of us. So now that is not a thing that we have to worry about in the least. So do we want to take the like older wide receivers that no one is excited about and just like double up with T.Y. Hilton and Keenan Allen right off the bat? Colts came out and said T.Y. Hilton is still going to be the guy there, like the number one wide receiver. So let's take us some unexciting old wide receivers as we drafted the zero wide receiver strategy. So a lot of people draft the zero RB and then go with, the Lev Bells, David Johnsons, David Montgomerys, people that we're not excited about anymore, but still are going to produce. So we're kind of doing the reverse of that here, getting us a Keenan Allen and a T.Y. Hilton as our top two wide receivers. For next pick, we can definitely consider some running backs. Tight end, I'm only going to consider it if Evan Ingram doesn't go, and I just hope he goes so that that's not an option. Wide receiver, I really like Jarvis quite a bit. This is not early enough for me to take Debo. I took Debo in my very last draft, but this is that team I was telling you about where we started off Kamara, Aaron Jones, and Lamar Jackson. So started off with Kamara, Aaron Jones, Lamar Jackson. I did take Debo in this draft, but I got him way down in round 8, which is kind of where I like. That's like the earliest round I'm really comfortable taking a shot on Debo. As you would guess from that, that was my first share of Debo. Pretty interested in Jarvis Landry, Marvin Jones, and Brandon Cooks, and Julian Edelman that are all on the board here. I think I have Edelman higher. Yeah, I have Edelman higher than Landry, Marvin Jones, and Brandon Cooks. Actually, I have T.Y. Hilton at 30, but T.Y. Hilton I had absolute zero shares of, and Edelman I've had some of, so I don't really hate that I took him a little bit out of order here. I think for the sake of going zero wide receiver to start having some fun, it might be fun to take Julian Edelman. Boo. So he just went. Geis is a guy I need to bring down my ownership on. It's just too high. So I might wait another round to take a running back, end up with a Jordan Howard or Sony Michel type. Do we ever dare to go Evan Ingram here? Do we have the cojones to do that? He is my number 6, so he's my top tight end on the board. I have absolutely not drafted him in a single draft. This person's timing out. All right, I'm going to do it, folks. Makes me kind of sick, but there we go. Evan Ingram, my first share. Really like the value you get on Geist. That's why my ownership on him is so like bonkers. But it's just like I gotta bring that down some. So I'm having to fade him for a few of these. If the dude just ever stayed healthy, is that possible? Maybe not. So the second article is going to be a deep dive into roster construction and why I think 3683 is the best. The nice thing that I think is cool and interesting is that we don't have data for 20 round drafts, right? Because this is like new that they've just switched to this. So all the data that I have mined is off draft and it's 18 round drafts. And have definitely some strong reasons for why I think that this is the best. But I'm going to save that for the companion video for that article and that article. Which, by the time you're watching this, I'm guessing should be out soon after. Trying to get like 5 videos and 5 articles done this week and then switch to like 1 video and 1 article per week. But you need to have, enough content to make the site at least interesting to look at while it first starts. Another thing I want to talk about is the QBs to avoid. I still have Tyrod Taylor in there, so I'm just not sure about that situation. But I'm warming up to the fact that I might move him out of there at some point, especially if preseason starts and they're just still talking about him as the undisputed, going to be the starter guy there. Be interesting if Debo slips to me at round 8, 2 drafts in a row. Wouldn't mind if somebody else took him, please, so that I don't have to think about that. I do like our team quite a bit, even though we have this kind of like weird 0 wide receiver start, which is not something I'm accustomed to doing. But picked 4 players before taking a wide receiver in full PPR. Definitely not the most common. Wow, Marvin Jones was still on the board. That seems late. Definitely kind of wishing I didn't take a tight end now that like all of Higbee, Hurst, Henry are still up there. But Evan Ingram still has that, tight end 3 type upside if he was to ever stay healthy. Could see him getting in the top 3 to 5. Nice to see Hurst go off the board. At least that's one. I wouldn't mind seeing another 1 or 2 tight ends go off for my pick. Then I would actually feel good about my pick. What do we got going at wide receiver? So it's about to say Christian Kirk's name. I like Slayton a decent amount. So if I decide to just not take Debo 2 drafts in a row, I might go down to Slayton. Would set us up for the possibility of like a Slayton Ingram with Daniel Jones stack. Should be a cool thing to have open as an option. RB, we could definitely consider taking a 4th RB pretty soon. Wouldn't be terrible to take this pick. Slightly lean away from Dobbins and Vaughn, being that we have Taylor. So I'd be inclined to take like Jordan Howard here, or wait around and maybe take one of Cohen, Michelle, Beretta. Dobbins is a guy I've got to kind of get like a couple shares of, so I just don't have much. Brady goes off the board. Tariq Cohen. Another shot at Debo in round 8, huh? I just don't want to do it 2 drafts in a row. think it's too risky. We've seen guys with these foot problems like come back and then be out right away again, and their whole year is like screwed. So yeah, I'm gonna take Slayton and kick running back down the road a little bit more. Probably take a running back with our next pick, unless there's like a big run here, then might get a little bit screwed, but that's okay. Them the risks you take. So one thing to keep in mind for Slayton is he's a bye week 11 wide receiver. Bye week, and so is Debo. Bye week 11 is like a real problem week. It blocks you out of a lot of really good value picks if you start getting too many of those guys. If you're the type of person that doesn't care and you're going to like have 3 or 4 guys at the same bye week, which I would recommend not doing, then it's not a big deal for you. But for me, it is, because I try to stick to at most having 2 wide receivers or 2 running backs at the same bye week. So next 2 rounds or so, we'll start looking at some teams. I want to push it a little later so you can see a little bit more of how guys are going with their stacking. Thing to keep in mind for this year is if somebody tests positive for COVID, they're going to say a minimum of 3 weeks, which is pretty disastrous. Deontay Johnson. Fantasy Football Oracle seems to like a lot of the same players as I do, so nice. He took Dobbins. It's a really good pick for him. Let's take a look at his team real quick after I make my next pick. Interested to see what he has going on overall. Somebody's going to get a really good value on Higbee here. If Debo were to come back to us, we could consider taking around 9 Debo. Would lock us out of bye week 11 wide receivers, but I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable getting a 4th running back. I just don't want to be kind of weak at RB. So I'm almost, no matter what, going to pick a running back here. He takes Crowder. Not one of my favorite picks. I think he's going to lose some volume, and if he loses volume, then he's just not that good. So we're not going to take Debo here. Definitely taking a running back. It's a matter of which one we want. This Jerry Rice guy's been in a lot of my drafts, and he like milks the clock every time. I don't know if he has some sort of like bot picking for him that picks with two or 3 seconds left, or what goes on with this guy. Maybe he's also making videos or something, and he talks through his picks a bunch. Kind of hoping he doesn't take Jordan Howard, because that's who I would like to take here. Jordan Howard goes, and I think I'm going to take Sony Michel. Timed out again. Takes Gronk. Taking Jordan Howard. Nice to get as our 4th running back. Should have good volume, good touchdown potential. Quarterback's not something we need to keep too much of an eye on. There is a player I would definitely like to pick with my next pick, but I don't think he'll be making it back to us. So after the turn makes their next 2 picks, we'll start looking at all the teams and what people have going on. I did want to look at Oracle's team real quick, get a little sneak preview of that one at least. Russ Wilson. Ooh. Yeah, seems like very good. He has the Lockett Russ stack. He's got Barkley. I don't love having both Akers and Dobbins. He's going to be having a rough time at RB2 here early in the season, I believe. Although Akers, a lot of people think he's going to be the workhorse week 1. I don't think that myself. McVay keeps saying that they're going to do some sort of a running back by committee, and the Malcolm Brown and even John Kelly will be involved. I don't really believe the John Kelly part, but I believe the Malcolm Brown part, as well as Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. So I'm a little hesitant on Akers compared to what most people seem to be. Keyshawn Vaughn still on the board, pretty good value at RB. Johnny Smith. Johnny Smith is a guy that does not excite me as much as a lot of people. A lot of people think he's a breakout candidate. I don't know. I kind of saw him play now for a few years. Play when Delaney Walker's been out. He's been okay, but nothing special. And then in the playoffs last year, a backup tight end outplayed him, Ferkster. So I don't know. I'm not completely off Johnny Smith. I take him in these drafts when it's appropriate, but I feel like most of them he's getting reached on to a point where I'm just sweet. Catch you later, buddy. Jared Cook's up there on the tight ends left, which is not something I'm too interested in right now, but I'd like to point out how much I dislike Jared Cook this year because a lot of people are high on him. So last year with Breeze, he was pretty great, and Breeze is going to be there, so everyone assumes he's going to be pretty great. I would disagree with this. Reasons why. So he only had 43 catches last year, and with Emmanuel Sanders coming in and the way the Saints mix up everything, I don't think he's going to get some crazy bump in volume. I think he's going to have the same volume basically as last year. He caught a touchdown 13.5% of his catches last year, which was absolutely bananas. And so you're asking, how bananas was that? Well, his career mark is 3.5%, and he hit 13.5%. So it's pretty effing bananas. Wow. Deebo Samuel is falling to a point where it's just getting hard to not take him. Could we really fade him again? I think we can. Just really don't want to take him 2 drafts in a row, but at most we can only fade him one more pick. Then we would absolutely have to take him if he was still there at pick 125 when we picked. But I think at 116 we can afford to fade him again. I have him ranked kind of higher than I want to take him because, I'm waiting to hear news on what his expectations are for when he can be back. And as of so far, those expectations haven't changed, meaning that he should be ready for week 1 because that was the original expectation. I would like to see him not try to play until at least week 3, at which point we're getting to the point of the draft where he would still be an insane value. But like I said before, the problem with this injury isn't the injury timeline itself on this injury. It's that so often people try to come back from this and just end up hurt again, and then hurt for a long time. So Hardman was, of course, the guy that I really, really wanted, that I was trying not to say his name so that he wouldn't get taken before us. So I think that means we are going to pull the trigger here on our Deebo Samuel. The next other option we could do is snatch up Keyshawn Vaughn as our RB5. I just think this is too much at this point. If somehow Deebo is ready for week 1 or just doesn't get hurt again, it's just such insane value at this point. I was really hoping to get Mecole Hardman there, but we got kind of hosed, so maybe we can pick up Watkins a little later to go with Patrick Mahomes. For our next pick, got a couple guys in mind. So we're going to kind of be blocked out of bye week 11 now, which is pretty unfortunate. Might make us have to make some difficult decisions later on in this draft. Jerry Rice is running the clock down. So after the other FFG here makes their 2 picks, we'll take a look at their team, start analyzing the other teams a little bit here. Yeah, that's what you get for running the clock. You get Jared Cook. Really good value on Keyshawn Vaughn for Dizzy D. Fantasy Football Oracle takes carry on. Not too into carry on. I'll probably just have close to 0% ownership on him just because he still gets drafted in rounds before I'm willing to take him. I just think Swift is going to cut in too much, and I think they're actually going to involve more people than just Swift, so this is going to be a complete poop show. I could see like Hunley getting third down work and some like 2-minute drill work, and I could see friggin' Bo Scarborough ending up with some red zone work. Yeah, just want nothing to do with the Lions. RB situation. I do like Swift in Dynasty, where maybe you could get free of Matt Patricia and things can start to go well for you. But while Patricia's there, not interested in the Lions RBs. So the other FFG is about to make their second pick, and then we'll take a look at their team. Start working our way down. Breda. Right. Took 2 Dolphins players. So he's got Dak. Obviously, anybody in pick 1 ends up with a pretty cool looking team because they get Christian McCaffrey. So he's got Dak with Amari Cooper. It's pretty sweet to have that little stack. I do find that it seems like every Christian McCaffrey team I look at like doesn't want to pick another running back for a while. I don't know. It just seems like they always have these like weaker looking running back groups behind McCaffrey. His wide receivers are absurd to start with Cooper, DJ Moore, DJ Chark, Jarvis. Even Sterling Shepard I like quite a bit when he's healthy, which isn't terribly often. But if he can avoid a concussion, he will definitely have a good year. The Oracle, we kind of already looked at their team. I just definitely don't like that Austin Hooper pick. You can get a player that's equal to this 5-6 rounds later, in my opinion. I don't really like Austin Hooper much in Cleveland. I think the volume that he got was what made him sort of in Atlanta. So yeah, at least he has carry. I don't hate the carry-on pick as much for the Oracle now that he was the guy with Akers and Dobbins, because I do think carry-on will have a little bit extra value early compared to what his value will be late. So Daniel Jones just went. That's who I was hoping would make it to us in that pick. We were getting sniped left, right, and center. So we could go down and pick up a Zach Moss to get a dude with some touchdown upside. I'm definitely not going to go for Sammy Watkins here, though I will consider Sammy Watkins with my next pick just to get somebody to go with Mahomes. So kind of between Zach Moss and Henry Ruggs. I'm going to take Ruggs. I haven't really taken much Ruggs. I've taken a ton of Zach Moss, so Ruggs is going to be able to get you some of those big, long TDs that will spike and be good for best ball and the weeks that he hits. So Sammy Watkins is probably a player at this point that correlates low enough with Patrick Mahomes that like the level of concern we have about getting him is almost 0. It isn't actual 0, but it's in the neighborhood of 0. So like I said, we had a couple opportunities here to get some stack pieces, and we didn't because we were looking at other value. And like I could have taken Daniel Jones when I took Debo, but I think that would have been incorrect just because if Debo at the point we were getting him, if he was to stay healthy would be making a far, far bigger difference for our win percentage than having Daniel Jones to go with Slayton and Evan Ingram. Watkins off the board. Well, we've still got some stack options out there. So we've got Henry Ruggs. We can look to pick up Carr later. We've got T.Y. Hilton, so we can look to pick up Rivers later. So that's two options for like probably our third quarterback there that at least correlate with some of our guys. We will not be getting anyone that goes with Mahomes because I would not take Robinson, who's the only guy left really that goes with Mahomes. But Mahomes will have plenty of his own standalone value. We get him at pick 29, which for me is pretty good. That's exactly where I got Lamar the draft before that we pulled up and looked at there. And in that one, Mahomes had actually gotten pick 16, so I got Lamar an entire round plus a pick later than the guy who took Mahomes, where he got Mahomes. So unfortunately, we can't get my boy Preston Williams in this draft because I kind of blocked myself out of week 11 for wide receivers, which I definitely think will be a problem. It's not such a hard rule for me on wide receiver that it's unbreakable like it is for running backs. Running backs, I won't draft a third running back the same bye week no matter what. Like I'll just find I will go a tier lower if I have to, or find some other way to deal with it. But as far as wide receivers go, I'm like, I really try hard not to have three the same bye week. But if the only wide receiver left on the board sometimes with value left is Denzel Mims, and if he were to be the only guy left that I liked, I would be open to taking him. Don't know who that was because it didn't put the player's name in there. It's happened a few times. So let's go back to going through his teams. We looked at the top two. Dizzy D. Ooh, he's got Zeke, Lamar, Fournette, Ingram, Swift, Vaughn. Definitely got the vets to support a couple of rookie RBs that might come on later. And Vaughn, you never know. He could be coming on quickly if Ronald Jones gets in the doghouse. Kupp, Edelman, Deontay Johnson, Tate. Pretty mediocre but not bad wide receiver group. Higbee, one of the people I have the least amount of idea of what's going to happen with him. Wow, it's really doing this to this guy's picks, huh? I assume that was Ryan Tannehill. Who else could it be? This must have been N'Keal Harry. Just took it Team Jerry Rice, which takes forever to time out, and sniped me on Daniel Jones, the bastard. So he's got Kyler and Daniel Jones, which is really good to start off. He has nothing that correlates with them. Todd Gurley and Damian Williams as his only RBs. That is pretty horrific. Michael Thomas, Godwin, Metcalf is very, very nice. So his team overall, incredible wide receivers. Very decent start at quarterback. Running back is an abysmal pile of crap, and tight end does not excite me for him. Gronk is okay. I don't really know what to expect from Gronk. And Jared Cook, I just no interest in this year. Then we will hit my team. We'll leave breaking down my team until the end, so it looks like I'm going to have to make my pick here pretty quick. So right now, I would strongly considering Zach Moss last pick, so I think that's just slam dunk. RB I like most on the board is our second rookie running back, but that's okay. We've got three good vets to go in there too. Pretty excited about that. Definitely was considering Zach Moss the pick before, so that is awesome. QBs seem to be kind of flying. I still fine waiting another little bit to take any more QBs. I could take probably two the next go around if it came down to it. Wide receivers, I like Justin Jefferson a good bit. Preston Williams is my boy, but don't really want to take him because of bye week concerns. Paris Campbell, I like an awful lot. Probably get him on the next go around. How thin is tight end getting? Pretty thin. We'll see what happens with tight end. I might take one here. Can't take Herndon because he's the same bye week as Ingram. So I'm really only super interested in taking one of the top 3 tight ends that are left on the board this round. If all 3 of them go, I'm probably just going to punt that situation. Down the road, I would consider Irv Smith if things got dire. Hawkinson. Irv Smith's probably better than Ian Thomas, to be real. I wonder how I have them ranked because I have like really started to fall on Ian Thomas. I have Ian Thomas 1 spot above Irv Smith. Probably should not even have him that high. There's just not going to be enough to go around in Carolina. You already have McCaffrey and DJ Moore like sucking it up, like the same situation as New Orleans has with Michael Thomas and Kamara. So then if you want Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson to be like anything, which I think they'll both be something, right? That just doesn't leave very much for like an Ian Thomas. So I think I'm going to adjust my rankings a bit there and move Ian Thomas down even more. So Herndon's my top guy that I left on the board, then Ebron, and then Ian Thomas, and then Irv Smith. So we're not going to take Chris Herndon because of bye week concerns. So we're going to go to the next guy on our rankings, which is Ebron. Not 1,000% sure I had to take a tight end there, but certainly with Evan Ingram being your top tight end, you want to be slightly risk averse. You can grab my pen real quick because I want to make a note about moving down Ian Thomas again. Strange because he was a guy I was pretty high on in the offseason, but I don't think I had really thought about the complete picture there in Carolina. I just thought, Greg Olson's out of there. Carolina's always using the tight end a lot, but this is a new offense, right? It's Matt Rule's offense. And with the other weapons they have, like, where does he slot in? Number 5? I think he's possibly number 5, right? So number 1's going to be DJ Moore in the pass game. Number 2 is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Then it's going to be Samuel or Robbie Anderson, then probably the other one, and then Ian Thomas. Maybe Thomas could kind of elbow past one of them, but I don't think he's elbowing past both those wide receivers. So still have some opportunities for stacking with Carr or Rivers. And also we have Keenan Allen. So if we end up going with our Tyrod Taylor super late QB pick, if we're going to do it, this is the time to do it, right? If you're going to mix in a little bit of Tyrod Taylor, it's going to be on a team where you have, Keenan Allen or Hunter Henry or Michael Williams. But I think Keenan Allen is obviously the best one of those 3 to go with them. So, all right, we can't take Tyrod Taylor in this draft. Boo. Same bye week as Patrick Mahomes. Well, I got all excited there for nothing. Goes Thomas. Chase Edmonds still on the board, who I absolutely love. Darrington Evans, one of my boys, I like quite a bit. I like Raquel quite a bit. You can get him late. Damian Harris, I'm intrigued by, but also a little scared. I like the Chargers guys, Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson. AJ Dillon, I'm a little worried about. Like, I don't know how much they may use Jamal Williams. You'd think they want to get Jamal Williams pretty much like out of there because his contract's going to be up. They just drafted Dillon, but at the same time, they seem to like Jamal Williams, and there's always Jamal Williams games every year. Really like that. Chase Edmonds pick for Toasty Beer. So where were we on looking at teams? We looked at Dizzy D, we looked at Jerry Rice, we skipped us. So fellow KGB has Stafford and Big Ben. It's got Juju to go with Big Ben, which is nice. Well, it doesn't look like he has anything really to go with Stafford. No real bye week issues going on for him there. So next team we've got is K2, the Riz. It's got Brady and Newton. Maybe he can get Garoppolo and get the whole New England tree going there. He's got Lev Bell, Geis, and Sonny Michel. That is not a running back group that I want anything to do with. He's got Tyreek, Hopkins, Devontae Parker, Judy Watkins, Alshon Jeffrey. Don't really like this team very much. Got Ertz and Waller. I definitely would not take Waller that early if you're taking Ertz. I really think if you're taking a tight end in the first 4 rounds, you need to like punt tight end for quite a while after, or else you're just getting too invested in that position. I am definitely not a take double elite tight end guy. Quarterback sort of flying off the board there. Got 2 more picks for us. Ooh. A-Dank just took Garoppolo. So he's got Allen and Garoppolo who share the same bye week. I really don't like that. Then he's got Drake and Carson, which is fine as your top 2, but I don't like not having like a third kind of like steady running back. Like Coleman will have some good weeks, but he also will have some poop weeks. So let's get back to A-Dank here in a second. So we've got Minshew, Cousins. I think I'm going to take Paris Campbell here. I like him a lot. I'm going to wait one more pick to take quarterback, I think. Yeah, especially with us having Mahomes, we got to kind of gamble there. Paris Campbell for me, it is. Definitely going to have to take a QB with our next pick. That's we could afford to get pretty hosed on our third QB, but not on our second. Gardner is my top-ranked QB left, and Cousins, Derek Carr, and Rivers. I have stack pieces for Carr and Rivers, so that's definitely worth keeping in mind. Rivers is a guy I have like almost no ownership on, so I wouldn't mind getting a piece, although I don't really love him for this year. They do play in a division where he should be able to put up some numbers. And that weapons group is definitely interesting with Hilton, Campbell, Pittman. Even Zach Pascal is like a 4th wide receiver, is a pretty decent player. Minshew to the Oracle. So that gets us down to either wanting to take Carr or Rivers. I have a lot more Carr, and Rivers correlates a little bit better with our lineup, having a couple stack pieces. So I think this time, if they're both on the board, I'm going to take Rivers over Carr. I believe that's the best options available right now, right? Yeah, those are my top options. As far as my rankings go, I'm going to take Rivers. Not excited about it, but it's all right. At least we do get a double stacking piece in there. We got it at about correct value instead of reaching. Probably. So this tight end group, I'm not going to be able to use Jimmy Graham because the same bye week as Evan Ingram. Also not going to be able to use Dawson Knox for the same reason. He's like one of my favorite late tight ends. So you see where these bye weeks can be quite the problem when you this bye week 11 week is it's rough. Got 2 running backs with that week, but that's okay. 2 wide receivers. So this is why you want to keep in mind that you want to keep tabs on these sort of things. We're all right now, but if even one more and we would start to get into real trouble for this week 11. Definitely need to keep in mind quarterback again with our next pick if any human quarterback still lives by then, which I assume they may not. I think we're on A-Dank going through rosters. So yeah, he's the one that's I don't like this. 2 bye week 11 quarterbacks and not much help on the horizon. We talked about his running back situation. Oh, it's a nice pickup for him getting Justin Jackson there. Good upside guy. At least he has Kittle to go with his Garoppolo. Don't really like having Hunter Henry. If you have Kittle, I just would wait and not waste. Not really waste, but I wouldn't use draft capital as high as you have to use on Hunter Henry if I already have Kittle. So he's got 2 stack pieces to go with Josh Allen in Diggs and John Brown, which is nice. But he does have 3 bye week 11 wide receivers already. And I have a feeling he's going to be. Plus, he has Antonio Brown, who's probably not playing this year. He announced his retirement. Could he come back? Yes. I'm just not going to mess with him until we know for sure what's going on there. So we could end up getting locked out of quarterback. That would be unfortunate. Could end up just having to take a Nick Foles with one of our picks, or Ryan Fitzpatrick, and just be pretty unhappy about it. Anthony McFarland, a decent amount is left out there for RBs. I think we're pretty much going to try to take something like a quarterback and a tight end and then wrap it up with 2 wide receivers. But give it a few more picks here. Then I'll drop down and take a look at the next team after A-Dank's team. Do I still need... I still need a running back as well. Yep, I was worried that was going to happen to us. So Haskins was basically the last quarterback left other than Foles or Fitzpatrick that I would even roster. It's pretty unlucky. So what are we going to do with this pick? I think we're just going to pick Darrington Evans, who I like quite a bit. Reichwell is also decent. I think Evans would have way more upside if something happened to Derrick Henry. It's possible we just end up going 2 quarterbacks in this thing. I'm still open to taking like Foles or Fitzpatrick if one of them is there when we pick. Again, of the two, I think Foles has a better chance of like winning and hanging on to a job because I think Fitzpatrick's going to get replaced fairly quickly. We also have the option of just going with 2 quarterbacks. Don't love it. Do not love it. I think we got sniped like 5 times in this draft. This was a rough one. But these best ball championships, everybody's pretty good. So, tight end is also pretty beaten down. Do like Kyle Rudolph a good bit as like a guy that can get his like 5 or 6 touchdowns. Tyrell Williams still on the board. Like Tyrell Williams quite a bit, especially for the start of the year. Well, let's go with that. All right. Things are not working out the best for us in this one. Just gotta kind of roll with the punches. It definitely is a team that could, still win this whole thing, obviously. If anything were to happen to Patrick Mahomes, obviously that would completely disappear. Our chances of doing anything would completely disappear. But if you're going to get kind of hosed on QBs, one where you have, a Lamar or a Patrick Mahomes is the best draft to have it happen to you because at least that guy can like carry the load for the group. Foles went off the board. So looking like we might be a 2 QB'er. Might consider taking a Tua or a Fitzpatrick, but those are the only guys left that I would use even in emergency. If you go back to my rankings here, I've got them. Well, actually, I do think I still have, yeah. I've got Trubisky, Tua, and Herbert listed in the emergency only tier as well. Strange that Tyrod is still on the board when some of these other people are off. So I am looking at taking a Miami QB if one of the two is still available for my next pick. Wouldn't be great, but we'll be making the best of a bad situation. That one Haskins pick really kind of crushed us. Could be a blessing in disguise, though. Because, if we knew Fitzpatrick was starting a bunch of games, I would much prefer Fitzpatrick. If we knew he was going to be the starter for the year, I would much rather have Fitzpatrick than Haskins. But it is danger zone for him. are we on looking at teams? Down to team money. So he's got Wentz and Burrow with the same bye week. Don't love it. If Foles loses his job by week 9, or if he doesn't win the job to start with, then he's going to be taking the 0 that week at quarterback. He's got Dalvin Cook, James Conner, James White, and this is not the RB group for me. Not a big fan of this running back group, even though I love Dalvin Cook and James Conner's upsides. I just don't like having nothing safe behind them. Tua or Fitzpatrick? I'm gonna take Fitzpatrick. So the reason why I'm taking him is I think he starts week 1, and if they make the change on their bye week, it would be after Patrick Mahomes' bye week. Because Patrick Mahomes' bye week is week 10. And Miami's is week 11. So obviously, we might just get Phillip Rivers in there with a decent week that week anyway. That's Mahomes' bye week. And there's no way that this team was going to be able to sustain a Patrick Mahomes injury anyway, so it's not really something you need to try to plan for. You're not winning the $50K championship coming in first place if your Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. So you can kind of ignore that as even being a thing. For tight end, there's not a whole bunch left. We can't do Jimmy Graham because he has the same bye week as our Evan Ingram. Also, we can't do Darren Fells for the same reason, so we could take one of Uzoma or Drew Sample or Tyler Eifert. I'd prefer Eifert because I'm pretty sure I know Eifert is going to be the guy to start the year in Jacksonville until he gets hurt. So our tight end group here is going to be Evan Ingram, Ebron, and then either a Bengals tight end or Eifert. We still have one more wide receiver to pick as well. So if I was to grade this team, I'd give quarterback a B plus, just because I think if you have a Lamar or a Patrick Mahomes, you automatically get a B plus at worst. For our running backs, I think I would give us an A. I only give an A plus if you have Christian McCaffrey. So that's the way it is. But this is a really, really good running back group. For our wide receivers, it really kind of depends on what goes on with Debo. This is a B group that could very easily be a B plus if Debo or Paris Campbell. All right, we'll take Eifert here. And for our tight end group, I'd probably give that a C. Not too thrilled. I don't really even like Evan Ingram, but getting a little ownership percentage on him. So Ebron definitely has some upside for the year, being the Steelers' starting tight end, but nothing about this group really excites me, other than Evan Ingram's upside if we were to actually play 16 games, which is a pretty tough thing to have happen. So we were looking at Team Money's team. He had the quarterbacks the same bye week with a kind of a weak third. It's got a lot of bye week 9 receivers, 4 of them. That's way too many. He's going to have massive problems there. Then he's got Kelsey, Herndon, and Njoku. Don't really like Njoku, but maybe he gets traded or something and that works out for him. I mean, you don't really have to worry about your other 2 tight ends a terrible amount if you have Kelsey. So, of all the things to worry about in his team, that's not it. I don't think this team's very good. He's got bye week problems at quarterback. He's got Dalvin Cook and James Conner as really his only pillars to build on in running back, and they're both super injury prone. He's got way too many wide receivers the same bye week, having 4 out of 7. Don't think that team's very good. So part 1 and 2 here's team. Same, he's got Watson and Locke, the same bye week. Don't love it. His running back group is Aaron Jones, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Henderson, Freeman, who I'm not even sure is on the team. I just don't like drafting Freeman for now. If his upside was like bigger, like if he signs with a team, I'm still just like kind of not that excited about him. So I don't see any reason why to take a chance on him not signing with the team. Like if it was Antonio Brown and there were still all the rumors flying about him going to a team, then that's a different story. But it's like Devonta Freeman. I don't really care that much. Even if he signs with the team, he's not going to be that great. Wide receiver group, he's got Adams, Sutton, Cooks, Emmanuel Sanders, Westbrook, Amendola, Isabella. It's kind of a weak wide receiver core past, this first couple of guys. This is a lot of like bleh. 2 tight ends in the same bye week, backed up by O.J. Howard. Hate it. Do not like this team at all. Snow Monster got 3 decent quarterbacks with different bye weeks. You could call Darnold decent, at least usable. 3 usable quarterbacks with different bye weeks. It's got the Julio and Ryan stack. David Montgomery and Raheem Mostert as my 2-3 is like, okay. Not exciting behind Joe Mixon. He's got Ridley to go with Matt Ryan as well, and he's got Rashad Perryman to go with Darnold. Definitely like his stacking. Decent enough tight ends. Like, this is a fine enough group right here. This is like what most of my tight end groups look like if I'm not taking one of the big 4. All in all, this seems like reasonable. I think like he doesn't have quite enough upside at any position other than wide receiver. So like wide receiver, he has like a ton, but then like everywhere else is kind of like like just not that much upside at running back or quarterback or tight end. So that's a good team, but I don't think it'll be the type of team that wins this tournament. Toasty Bear. This is an ugly looking tight end group, even though I like Hayden Hurst, but I don't like having 2 of these just like kind of, I don't have a clue what's going on with them dudes. In Everett and Rudolph. Rudolph I do think is a little safer than people want to give him credit for right now. So let's go pick our last wide receiver. I think I know who that'll be. All right. So we got Gandy Golden as our last wide receiver. The app just freaks out on us. Drafters is having a moment right now. Hold on a sec. Hates when you go to search for somebody for some reason. So once this reloads, we'll do our wrap up for the team, and that'll be it. So for us, we've got Mahomes, Rivers, Fitzpatrick. Obviously, I just wish Fitzpatrick was like a Darnold or Dwayne Haskins who got sniped the pick before us. So I think that this is pretty bad, but we do have a chance if Mahomes stays healthy to kind of push through our quarterback situation. Love our running back situation with Kamara, Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Howard, Zach Moss, Darrington Evans. Our wide receiver group is pretty good, but not anything special. Got Keenan Allen, T.Y. Hilton, Darius Slayton, Debo, Ruggs, Paris Campbell, Tyrell Williams, and Antonio Gandy Golden. And our tight ends is our weakest position with Ingram, Ebron, and Eifert. the 3 E's, but actually like the 5 E's. But, if Evan Engram ever has his healthy season, we could do some stuff. Could this team win this tournament? Possibly, but not super likely. Definitely would need like a Derrick Henry injury maybe, plus one of Paris Campbell and or Debo being healthy, or Paris Campbell breaking out, and then Evan Engram being healthy. So not that many things that would have to go right for us to get at least a shot of being in there, but a reasonable amount. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed this one, and next time let's not get ourselves stuck with Ryan Fitzpatrick as QB3. Later.